movie pictures I have taken from 1946 during Pastor Wilcox, Pastor Douglas Christen, Charles Benedict, and George Bailey's ministry. I'm sorry, but they are not all in order. But it will show. Now, what you're seeing now is the tent meetings we had there in Hornell, and several of the churches went in with this, and Dr. Wells was our speaker. And then we had a quartet. The quartet was, but there's several of the Hornell pet. Now there's Hildreth Wilcox standing in the back, and here comes Mrs. Dillon out of the tent, and here is there's Ruby Failing and Ruth Acker, and there was the Methodist, and this was the Gospel Center preacher. And these this quartet, they came over to my house. They stayed over there and they visited. Preem. There's a thing you push up. It's up high and it. This is still the party we had. He was the song leader. There's Harry Dodd and Carolyn, and they were the ones that was saved during the tent meetings, and we're at Mr. Dodd's home. There's the pastor of First Baptist Church, Dr. Reed. That's the song leader and his wife. That was all done in 1946. That was quite a tent meetings. Now, we're at the Hillside Baptist Church. And this is Wilford and Mildred's wedding, 1946. There's my mother. And there's Ruth Hedden. There's Grace Baker, one of the saints of our church. That's my mother. There's Mrs. Wilcox and my sister Virginia. Here comes Otto and Jen, and there's Bill Berg. He's just a little fella. You'll notice a few of them. There's Mac and Julia, and that's Sally Elder. She's got in her arm. Bill Berg, Judy Berg. Do you think we ought to just see how I'm doing and run over it again? Oh, now you got it going again. Here comes Wilford and Mildred. There's Millie Aarons. Elizabeth. There's Mildred Long. There's Ruth Payne. That's Mildred's sister. There's Hugh Acker, who was the best man. There's Wilford and Mildred. And there is Velma Acker. There's Elizabeth Connors. Now this is Wilford's father and mother. And here is Mr. and Mrs. Payne. That's Mildred's father and mother. Clarence, and there's Wilford and Mildred. Now there's their parents. There's Otto and Jen and my mother. That's me there taking pictures. Now there's a whole group of them. There's Bessie Granger, that's Mildred's sister. Here's Otto. There's Carl Zaltwanger. Boy, he's in there. There's my sister Virginia. Now this is a picnic up in the fairgrounds, up in Hornell. And here comes Murdy, she's running. And Bertha is at bat. There she goes. And there she goes. They used to say she could run like a deer. There's Hugh Acker.
Dick Dillon catching.
Yeah, Dick Dillon. Now, this was the Sunday school picnic. They're right in back. It's after we got through playing ball. We all gathered there. I can see Mrs. Green there. And there's a few people, if you study, I see Mrs. Boone and Laura Lansbury, Mrs. Gibbs and her mother. That looks like... Oh, there's Mrs. Swift, and there's Cliff Dillon. There's Mrs. Strickland. Well, now we got Velma up batting, Velma Acker. And right in back of her is Ruth Battles. And that was Doug Dillon. These are some of the young people over to Stony Brook. This one I meant to have cut out, but I got in there before I knew it. It was me catching a bass over at Keuka Lake. There, this was a church supper, and then they had a little entertainment. And that's Bertha, George Barnes, Hildreth Wilcox, and Cliff Dillon. And they're singing Deep and Wide.
And there's people standing behind us with our hands.
There's someone standing behind them with their hands. They got a big kick out of this. This was probably done about 1946, 47. We used to have some great times. Now, this is Howard Green. He came to visit, and he was over at O'Connor's, and I got a picture of him. But there's a picture of Howard Green, and he was here 13 years. He's the one that pulled us out of the Northern Convention. Now, here's Cliff Dillon. He was a motorcycle cop, and he also was a great usher in our church. Now, here comes Ed Stiles and Mark Ingalls shoveling the walk. That was quite a job when we had a lot of snow. He was a great janitor, Ed Stiles. Now, this was a sunrise service up on, we called it Gypsy Road or Spencer Avenue, up at the top. one cold morning, there's Pastor Kristen, there's Don and Eleanor Froh, right there, Don and Eleanor Froh. That's Grover Payne right in the back. There's Dick Dillon. There's Mr. and Mrs. Holden. Now, we're on a trip to Long Island, and that's during the time Pastor Kristen was our pastor. We went to Hemet, or what was his name? Bob Hayden's church in Long Island. That's what it was. Now that's the Delaware Water Gap. There's Millie and Adolph, and there's Ruth Kristen. And we stayed at these people's home. Kind of forgot their name, but their son was a missionary in ABWE. They really entertained us in New York. Oh, it's a... up the thing and then started. Yeah, we had a flat tire, and boy, Brother Wilford, he's handy. There's Adolph, myself. But you see, Wilford came prepared. He had his overalls. Now this is a Sunday school picnic at Stony Brook Glen. Mrs. Gibbs. Donna Foreman, there's Paul Freeland, Charles Reitenberg, and then Harvey Tripp and his wife, Eva, Helen Best, and there's Claire Herney, Murdy, and his family. There's what was her name? Well, there's Mark Ingalls. And there's Mrs. Holden. And that's Mark's wife. There's Mrs. Capel. There's Cliff Dillon's mother. And there's Grace Baker. Zane Baker. Millie Aarons. Pastor and Mrs. Wilcox. No. Pastor and Mrs. Kristen, sorry. Good thing my wife's here. There's Alberta Siemens and her husband. Them, I don't know.
This is Sunday school picnic.
This is a Sunday school picnic.
Going up balloons.
They're having a little game. They tie the balloons onto their... That one with the black pants, that's scary. Donna Foreman there with the green. Boy, could they run. Mrs. Gibbs, Mrs. Boone, Grace, Gretchen Barnes, Mrs. Holden, George Barnes.
That's one of the Aaronses.
I think that's one of the Aaronses, right? Alberta Seaman. Pastor, he's he was a lot of fun. Oh, look at that's me and Charles Reitenberg with one of. I've got that light gray pants. Boy, that Charles, he was fast. There goes Ruth Kristen. Look at her run. She went to second. She must have got a two-base hit. Now here's Doris Boone. Harry Allen. Going to have tug of war here. There's Harry Dodd and Charles Reitenberg. George Barnes and Harry Dodd. Yeah, tug of war. Now, this is the Wilcox family. This was taken inside of the church, and it's about the time they were getting ready to go to California, or Vancouver, British Columbia. That's Lina Wilcox. There, I've been there, goodbye. There's Gary and Marcia Aarons. There's Millie and her family. Now, we're over there. This is in January. They were loading up, and a few people came to bid them goodbye. That's Alice Adele Wilcox, Hildreth, Lina. There's Donnie Wilcox. This was the beginning of 1948, January 1948. They had a thing, they were really loaded. There's Elizabeth. There's Bob Long and Gordy Wilcox. And that's little David. Oh, there's Grace Bailey. And there's Mrs. Bailey, Clarence Bailey. He was the chief of police. Mrs. Strickland there, too. And there's Mildred Long. Oh, Mrs. Lansbury. Oh, they got a little of the deer in. Gordy'd got a deer. That's Gordon Wilcox and the deer. Oh, there's John Betlem and Bob Hayden. And this was the Baptist Church, and that was an Empire State Fellowship held there in 1948 at that. Now this was up to Swearingen's. This was there's Alice Swearingen. I think it was a Valentine's. Well, anyways, our class. There's Herb Swearingen. And there's Hildreth Wilcox. There's Clayton Howard Gray. He helped us out just before Pastor Kristen came. And I hear that oh, this was Crusaders, and that's a Foreman girl. There's Alice Adele. That is Swearingen's son. There's Long, and that's a Swearingen girl. Marilyn Baker. There's Zane. There's Gordy Wilcox. Gordon again. Oh, and there was the Long girl, Ruth Acker. Lansbury girl. I don't know what the other one was. And that's a Lansbury boy. And that was
Jones.
Yeah, Jones girl. There's Bertha and Dick, Dylan, Jack O'Connor, Jack Connors.
Playing a game,
some kind of a game. Now, there's Alice Adele, Lina and Hildreth Wilcox. There's Donnie and David in the first row. There's all their family. There's Cliff Dillon. We went over to Cuca Lake, and we were over to the Wilcox's little cottage they had. There's Herb Swearingen. That's Cuca Lake. There's Dick. There's now we're later. This was a Christmas party up to Alfred. Some of the pictures that there's Mr. and Mrs. Stewart. There's Zane Baker. Oh, I forget what their names were. Tom and Mrs. Swartz and Mr. Swartz, Mr. Muchler, Jan, Don Meadows, there's George Bailey, and there's Jack.
Dick Dickinson.
Swackhammer. Oh, I can't think to say them fast enough.
No, you folks just study them out and you'll know what their names are better than we will.
There's Louise. There's Jenny and Diane Brown. That gotta be Bertha.
And Marion and me.
Yeah. This is out in the kitchen. Millie and Luella. Harlow and Dorothy Whitman Craigie. There's Earl Boone. Boy, wash his face out a little. Louise. Jenny. Well, we always had something good to eat. Oh, what's her name?
Phyllis.
Phyllis, and there's Joan.
There's Dick and Mary Dickinson. There's our son-in-law who had to have his picture taken. There's Jimmer and Beth.
Jimmer and Beth.
There's Doug.
Doug and Jack. Jan. People went to California. Phyllis.
Well, this is at
Now, this was up to the Aaronses on Depot Street when they lived there. This was a game, and this was during the time of Benedict was there. Don Jenkins. This is up to the Stewart, where the men used to go. Mr. Stewart up on the hill, near Jasper.
Swale or something.
Swale. There's Bob Newman. Jack. Dick Dickinson. That's Charlie Brown. Elnora McNeil. Boy, that light was too bright on them when they projected this. Good one to Dick. That must be Phyllis.
No,
Betty.
Betty
Newman.
Don Jenkins.
Loretta. Dick. Llewellyn. Oh, Marion.
Dickinson or Marion Todd.
Todd.
Bit of a Betty.
Good one to Jan. Louis Todd.
Robert Wheeler.
Bernaretti.
No, I just...
Turn the record over. There's Bertha and Millie. There's I am. Oh, this was the younger people. That's the Auckland girl, and then that's Gary. There's Sally and John Lewis, Sally Elder. Oh, that wasn't an Auckland, that was a Jenkins. That was
Donnie Jenkins' sister.
Don Jenkins' sister.
Pat.
Oh, there's Dick, Cheryl, there's Jenny. This is over at our house. Bob and Betty Newman. Marilyn Philbrick.
Bruce Aarons.
Bruce Aarons.
Donna Nesbitt.
Donna Nesbitt.
Joyce Herney.
Carol.
Joyce Herney.
Joyce Herney. Paul
Stewart.
You're on Phil, Rick. He was a person that visited the young people. Paul Stewart. There's Dick and Bruce and there's Dick and Cheryl. Charlie Brown, Bob Newman, Vernon Stewart and his wife. Bruce again. Martha Holden. And there's Diana Foreman. There's Dick and Cheryl. There's Wilfred and Bertha. There's Janice. Dinah Nesbitt. Millie Aaron. That was Martha Holden. They're just leaving, Martha. I think that was Gary coming in. There's Judd. There. There's what was that? Sit down here and talk with some of these.
That's Leah Nesbitt, Donna's mother, in the background there. We're getting too old to try to remember all these people's names.
There's Ginny.
But I think some of you younger people will be able to make them out.
There's Pastor and
Miss Don Nesbitt.
Don Nesbitt. This was over in the kitchen, I remember that.
That's Bonnie.
There's
Brett.
Brett.
That was Suzanne
Miller. And there's Sally Elder.
And there's Joyce and Carolyn Dodd and
Donna Foreman.
Bruce and Donna.
Or Donna Nesbitt, gee. There's Lou.
Lewis. Paul Stewart, Brett Aarons. Dick, Kristen. Charlie Brown. Donna Foreman. folks, though, can make out who they are without us sitting here telling you who they are. That's a Miller girl. Mary and Jenny. D. Brown. There's Joyce again. Carol, Ernie. I don't know who that girl is. Maybe some of you know who she is. Dick, Cheryl, Bob Lewis. I don't remember his name either. That's Betty. No, is that Bonnie?
Wasn't that a nursing girl?
Yeah. One of them. There's Joan Kristen and Don Lois.
What was his name? Bruce.
Bob and Betty.
Paul Stewart. Now, this is the beginning of tearing down the Hillside Baptist Church. I think it was around 1975. I'm not sure. We built the new church, 73, I think. What they were doing, they were taking the windows out here. Now there's, I'm pretty sure that's Joan, and there's Jim. Boy, it takes me so long to think.
This was the younger.
See, this is when we lived
party. They
upstairs.
had a bicycle.
We lived upstairs in the house next to the church. Now, they came over, they had all these bees. We were always bothered with a swarm of bees, and they came over to take them bees out of that tenant house that was between the parsonage and the church. Now they're getting ready, taking that steeple out piece by piece.
Carol, Swiner, and their Joy and David.
Yeah, that was.
They're little. That was Pastor Swiner.
Pastor Schweimer up on the roof watching. I was across the street. There's Swacky. He's in the truck. Now we're getting ready to take down that tenant house. They're doing two things at once here. Here we go. There it goes. That was the house there between, I think Millie and Ada lived in that home when we first come to know them. That was during the time of Wilcox's ministry.
And George Barnes and Gretchen lived there.
Yeah, George Barnes and Gretchen lived there. Now you gotta watch. I can see the line up there, and all of a sudden you'll see that top snap. There it goes. It hit right on the top and then slid down the side. If I'm not mistaken, they had that pretty near cleared off in the day they took it down. This is close quarters. See, now we were living upstairs.
Got pretty scary.
We were going back and forth from Florida, and we lived upstairs, and they had the, that was awful close. There's a truck waiting there. Very clever how they got that on there. Backs right up. Now they're getting ready to go. They start at the back. We had a pretty good audience that day. There's Elmer Francisco. I think that Jim Meadows. There's Elmer again. This is interesting how that thing that held the steeple. There, all there's left now is the front. Now, you're going to see that go in a minute. They held it from my house. There it goes. Crash. Now, they're going to work on that other. There it goes. Now it's completely down, I guess.
That picture looks like the picture at Homestead during the hurricane.
Yeah. I'm up on the, at my house, you can just see the corner of the railing. I'm out there on the porch taking this. That looks, there's Paul Reitenberg and Tannen. Boy, them bulldozers, they can really take care of it. Boy, we had bricks. People stopped to get bricks. We had them lined up in the street. There, here comes some more of it. The problem with this church and having it tore down was there was no parking, and it was so condensed in there, and people in that neighborhood was a great testimony. And this got in there, but this is a little, they came over to see us. I had it on that film, and it was a
Jerry and
there's Jerry, who used to rent from me, and we had a picnic there at Stony Brook. Well, then about a day or so later, Ralph comes down, and he's going to show him how he can drive one of these trucks. They had it pretty well cleared off then. We're starting to show you some pictures of when we was in the Hillside Baptist Church. And this is a mother and daughter's banquet in about 1950, in the 50s. All right, now I'll nod to you, and then you want to turn it off. Here you can see my daughter with the blonde, and you can see Bertha with the blue, and this is the picnic. And Joyce and Donna singing in a trio. This is some more of the banquet. another time. Oh. Mr. Holden, he's in there. Here. There. It's men's Bible class. 19 was in the 50s when we had Pastor Christian. At our home, and there's Pastor Christian and Mrs. Christian. Gene Mullen and Vince Whiteman. It was in the 50s. That's Mrs. Kristen there. That's, well, it's really her class. It's the one Bertha goes to. My Sunday school class taken outside. This has got to be in the 50s. Hackton River. Some of them catching trout. All right. Well, I don't think you got this picture. I think that's when you told me.
No, I didn't.
Oh, talk. Yeah, this is Vince Whiteman there. It's at the Cohocton River. At the Cohocton River with the Sunday school class. Lou Aaron's there. He's got a trout. And this is my Sunday school class, the Cohocton River. This is our choir up there at Hillside Baptist Church. Stony Brook Glen, one of our Sunday school picnics. Men's Bible class, that was a good number there then. It had to be in the late 50s. Pat, 4 of them singing, Paul Reitenberg, George Auckland, the pastor. Our men's class had an outing. Pancake supper, I think it was. With D. Brown and John Jenkins. This is a Sunday school, or this is our whole church up to Harry Allen for a picnic. It's the parsonage. 1960, when we were remodeling the church, and this was a group that was working. It was remodeled in 1960. All new pews and everything. Very nice. Our men's Bible class. This has got to be in the late 50s. Okay. Our way to New York to the to Empire State Fellowship Conference. This was over to Pastor Benedict. See Louis Tad and Marion, and there's Dick Dickinson. Oh. Goldie James was there, and Elizabeth Connors and her sister Ann, and William Adolph Aaron. This is another picture of it. And And you can see the church steeple, and this is Canistoo Street. My house, the blue, and then the double house there, and then the church. The church now is torn down. Direction. Class party out in the backyard. That's all the class party. Dressed up. That Bertha sits there in the front, all the old-fashioned clothes. Family. I started talking too soon.
Yeah.
Well, this is we're starting our new church, and we had a whole group of people come up, and we're digging there to show where the church is going to be. It's about 1973. Shovel. Mark Buckman. One was that, but everybody had to try use the shovel. Don Jenkins boy. Each one of these pictures will show as it gets built. We're getting pretty ready to open. Bell they put up there. Just about when it was completed. Sunday. Churches. Sunday in our church, our opening. That was the first Sunday. The ambassador. I'm trying to think of what the name of the class is. Forward to the Night. Of Dick Dickinson. Everybody knew him. Christened down to Harold Mullen, one of our picnics we had. This is down to Vitt Whiteman and Mary Lou's. And there was, well, there's George Jocelyn there, and then there's Harold Mullen. This is over to Pastor Kristen's there at his home. Kristen and his wife Ruth. Cheryl and Dick and their class. It was over at our house. This was before Dick and Cheryl ever got married. An evangelist that we had, and his wife, John Carrara. That was bad. And they stayed at our home. That's his son, and he's a great worker in the Association of Baptists for World Evangelists. They stayed overnight with us.